Like, I genuinely sat there after episode 3, completely confused, a little frustrated, maybe slightly offended, and then immediately hit play on episode 4. That's the weirdest thing about Netflix's big mistakes. It shouldn't work. And honestly, it mostly doesn't. But there's something buried inside this messy, chaotic, completely unhinged show that kept pulling me back. And today, we need to talk about it. Okay, first, let's set the scene. Because before we even get into the show itself, we have to talk about the name attached to it. Dan Levy. Yes, that Dan Levy. The man who co-created Schitt's Creek, one of the most beloved comedies of the last decade. A show that started quietly, built a fan base over 6 seasons, and then absolutely exploded into a cultural phenomenon that swept the Emmy Awards and made everybody cry at a wedding when Netflix announced that Dan Levy was creating a brand new series. People were excited, like genuinely excited. The kind of excited where you add it to your watch list before you even know what it's about. The kind of excited where you block off your weekend, make snacks, and tell your friends, oh, we're watching this tonight. And the cast? Also promising. We're talking recognizable faces, strong performers, people who have absolutely proven themselves before. On paper, this looked like a hit. Netflix clearly believed in it. They gave it a full rollout, a proper marketing push, the whole thing. What happened? Well, that's exactly what we're here to find out. Because Big Mistakes is one of the strangest viewing experiences I've had this year. It's a show that has genuine talent everywhere, in front of and behind the camera, and still somehow manages to trip over itself repeatedly. But here's the thing, and I want you to stay with me on this, it's not a lost cause. Not even close. There's something here. Something that made me genuinely curious about where this show could go. And by the end, I think you'll understand why, right? So what is Big Mistakes actually about? At its core, it's a crime comedy about a pair of siblings who find themselves completely, catastrophically out of their depth. We're talking regular people, dysfunctional, messy, a little bit lovable, who somehow end up tangled in something way bigger than they ever bargained for. There's a stolen necklace. There's a crime boss. There are consequences. And honestly, the premise sounds fantastic when you put it like that. Think of it as a kind of chaotic family drama that accidentally wandered into a crime thriller and then refused to leave. There are elements of romance in there too. Family tension. Some genuinely funny moments. And then, out of nowhere, something dark happens and you're reminded that, oh right, there are actually dangerous people in this story. The mix, in theory, is brilliant. Crime comedy is a genre that works incredibly well when it's done right. We've seen it. We know what it can be. And with Dan Levy's track record with character-driven storytelling, you'd expect the balance to feel natural and earned. But here's where things get complicated. And here's where I need you to keep watching, because this is the part where the show both loses me and fascinates me at the same time. Let's be honest. Because honestly, the first few episodes of Big Mistakes are a bit of a mess. The biggest issue, and I mean the biggest, is context. Or rather, the complete absence of it. Things happen in this show. Characters make decisions. Events unfold. And the show just expects you to go along with it. No setup, no explanation, no hey, here's why this matters. We're just supposed to feel things about people we barely know in situations that haven't been properly established. It's like being dropped into the middle of someone else's conversation and being expected to care deeply about the outcome. And that leads to the second problem. Random events with zero payoff. There are moments in the early episodes where something happens, something that feels significant, and you lean forward thinking, oh, this is going somewhere interesting. And then it just doesn't. The show moves on. New scene, new energy. Almost like the writers forgot what they just set up. It's genuinely disorienting. Then there's the character motivation issue. Now, I don't need every character to sit down and explain their entire psychology to me. That would be boring. But I do need to understand, on some level, why people are doing what they're doing. In Big Mistakes, certain characters make choices that feel completely disconnected from who they appear to be. And without that foundation, it's hard to root for anyone, or against anyone, which is a real problem in a show that hinges on tension. And look, I think the tone and consistency is what really hurts the most. because there are scenes in this show that are genuinely funny, warm, charming, very much in the Dan Levy wheelhouse of characters you want to spend time with. And then, sometimes in the same episode, the show pivots into something darker and more intense, and the whiplash is real. Crime is threatening you in one scene, and then 2 minutes later someone's making a joke over dinner, and it feels like a completely different show. It's not that you can't mix those tones. Great shows do it all the time, but you have to earn the transition. And Big Mistakes doesn't always earn it. Pacing is also an issue. The middle stretch of the series drags in places where it should be building momentum. And structurally, the show feels like it's still finding itself, which would be totally fine in a pilot episode, but less forgivable several episodes. So yeah. Real problems. Legitimate criticisms. And I want to be clear, I'm not being harsh for the sake of it. I actually wanted this show to be great. And those flaws genuinely got in the way of enjoying it early on. But here's where I have to give credit, because the performances in this show are genuinely good. Like surprisingly good. There are moments where the cast is doing so much heavy lifting that they're almost single-handedly saving scenes that the writing let down, that I want to specifically shout out Yusuf. The character, the performance, there's something magnetic happening there. Every time this character is on screen, you feel it. There's a specificity to the portrayal that makes Yusuf feel like a real, three-dimensional person, even when the script isn't giving them the clearest material to work with. In a show that sometimes struggles to make its characters feel grounded, Yusuf is a genuine anchor. Honestly, some of the best scenes in the entire series are built around this character, and the actor delivers every single time. I want to specifically shout out Yusuf. The character, the performance, there's something magnetic happening there. Every time this character is on screen, you feel it. There's a specificity to the portrayal that makes Yusuf feel like a real, three-dimensional person, even when the script isn't giving them the clearest material to work with. In a show that sometimes struggles to make its characters feel grounded, Yusuf is a genuine anchor. Honestly, some of the best scenes in the entire series are built around this character, and the actor delivers every single time. And then there's Nikki's romance storyline, which, look, I didn't expect this to be the thing that got me, but here we are. There's a sweetness to it. A genuinely tender quality that feels very Dan Levy, that warmth and emotional honesty that made Schitt's Creek so special. When the show leans into this thread, it works. It actually works. It reminded me what this creative team is capable of when they're firing on all cylinders. There are also flashes of really sharp, dry humor throughout. Moments that land perfectly. Lines that made me laugh out loud. And visually, the show is well-crafted. There's a clear aesthetic sensibility at play, and it gives the series a look that feels distinctive and considered. The ingredients are there. They really are. That's what makes the structural problems so frustrating, because you can see what this show wants to be. And what it wants to be is actually pretty great. Now, here's the moment I want you to remember when you're sitting there in episode 5, maybe losing faith, maybe debating whether to bail. Don't. Because those final 2 episodes, they're a different show. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I mean it as a genuine, pleasant surprise. Something clicks in the back half of this series. The pacing tightens. The emotional stakes suddenly feel real. Characters start making decisions that feel earned and connected to everything we've watched before. Threads that seemed random start to weave together. And weirdly, the whole messy, chaotic thing starts to make a strange kind of sense. There are moments in those final episodes that are genuinely moving, like actually emotionally affecting. The kind of scenes that remind you that Dan Levy knows how to land a feeling when he wants to. You'll feel something. I promise you'll feel something. And that retroactively makes the earlier confusion feel almost worth it, like the show was earning something slowly, in a way that wasn't entirely clear until it cashed in the chips at the end. It doesn't fix everything. Not by a long shot, but it changes the conversation. It takes Big Mistakes from this is a disappointment to this is a flawed but interesting show that might actually be going somewhere. And that's not nothing. That's actually a pretty significant shift. So, what does that leave us? Is Big Mistakes a good show? Not entirely. Is it a bad show? Not entirely either. It's something messy, and more interesting than either of those simple answers. It's a show with real problems, structural, tonal, narrative, that also has genuine heart, strong performances, and moments of authentic storytelling that remind you why you started watching in the first place. It's the kind of show that a lot of great series are in their first season, unsteady on its feet, still figuring out its own identity, making mistakes. And given where those final 2 episodes land, I actually think season 2 could be something special. The foundation is there. The talent is there. The concept is there. It just needs more confidence, better scaffolding, and a cleaner sense of what story it's actually trying to tell. That if you go in with managed expectations, if you commit to the whole thing, stick with it through the confusion, and trust that it does eventually earn your patience, you'll probably find it's worth it. Messy, yes. Frustrating sometimes, but not a waste of your time. Not even close. That MY rating? A generous, conflicted, I'm rooting for season 2, 6.5 out of 10. With the possibility of looking back and calling that score too low if this show figures itself out. All right, that's my take. But I want to hear yours. If you've watched Big Mistakes, did it click for you? Were you confused from the start? Did those final episodes save it? Or did you check out before they even had the chance? Drop in the comments. I genuinely read them, and I want to know where you landed on this one. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe. I do these reviews every week, and I promise the next one is going to be a conversation. Hit the like button if you think Damn Levy deserves a shot at season 2. And if you disagree, well, there's a dislike button for a reason. I'll see you in the next one.